Morning friends, how's it going? We got here that maple bowl. This hasn't been trued up or anything. Okay friends, we're jumping right in. I threw the bowl blank in there. It's been once turned and dried and is now really out of shape. I'm cutting 3 steps in there that I'll be able to expand my jaws into and mount it up so I can true the tin in and the outside and get things going. So the reason I chose 3 steps is just in case one doesn't fit. I didn't measure anything, I just eyeballed everything, and doing 3 should give me a good chance at getting a secure hold. Okay, now one of the first things I like to do is to square up the top or the rim of the bowl. This will get a bunch of the unevenness out, which will in turn get a bunch of the vibrations out of the lathe from everything just running wonky and untrue. Okay, so I've got a 5/8, I believe, Robert Sorby's bowl gouge. I've got about a 45-degree fingernail grind on it. I started out pulling cuts to get the bulk of the material off and then switched to more of a push cut that'll give me less tear out and a more finished and refined cut. Okay, so after getting the outside done and flipped around into the chuck, I started with a couple little shear scrapes to clean up the outside and adjusted the rim, and then just started hollowing out the inside of the bowl. To get towards the bottom, I switched over to another Sorby gouge, a 5/8, but this one's more of a more common 55-degree swept-back. So the reason why we like the 55-degree bowl gouge on the inside especially is it lets you glide across the bottom without having a rough transition or having to switch to another type of bowl gouge. So I'm still not the best with my bowl gouge yet, so I switched over to a Robert Sorby bowl scraper to kind of clean up some of the tool marks and get the bottom of the bowl flattened out and nice and smooth. This bowl had a lot of cracks after the drying, and it had a couple of inclusions and knots, and I filled those with a 2-part epoxy with some kind of teal or turquoise pigment powder, and then I did a bunch of sanding, and I had a miserable time with it and deleted all the content. So afterwards I just went straight to putting the sanding sealer on. This is Mylan cellulose sanding sealer, and I chose this over shellac because it dries pretty clear and doesn't change the color of the wood much. So now you can kind of see that sealer is going to show you basically what the bowl is going to look like. Because what I want to do next after that is do some Yorkshire grit, polish it up nice, and then we'll put it in the cold jaws, turn the tinning off, and then we should be able to call that good. Well, I didn't do the best epoxy resin job or whatever you guys call it, but it turned out all right. I think I went a little bit crazy with the cracks, but I wanted to finish this bowl because I started it in that, log the bowl series. So we're going to see it to the end. The bowl that never ends. We're going to do some Yorkshire grit. I love the stuff. And we got about 750. So I mean, it's easy enough to make your own abrasive paste, but this stuff works so good, why even mess with it? I don't see a point in, like, unless you're a high bulk turner. I mean, 20 bucks a can. I've had this since June or July. 25 bucks it's lasted me. It's probably nowhere near in sight. Okay, at this stage I just buff in the abrasive paste and just keep moving it over and over again. You can hear the grit go away, and you just keep folding the paper towel on itself, and you see the less and less wax on it until it all goes away. Okay, now before moving on to the microfine, you want to make sure that your paper towel is completely clean, because you don't want any leftover grit going on into the next phase, which is the polishing phase with the microfine. So don't move on until your paper towel is completely clean and wax free, and then it's safe to go ahead on to the polishing stage. Don't get much better than that. So this polish, I go ahead and keep the RPMs up. Take them revs up a little bit. Alright, we got 1350 now. And we're having fun. Alrighty, let's put some doctors on it. See, chemicals. Shellac is a byproduct of bugs. It's got some alcohol, some walnut oil, and some microcrystalline wax. Now, it don't have the carnauba, which is, you know, more natural from a tree. I'm pretty sure the microcrystalline is man-made, but I don't believe it has any of the harsh, nasty stuff in it. So, just get this going. That first initial coat, I like to rub it on, and then the rest, maybe 2 or 3, will just go by hand while it's spinning. It doesn't matter to me. You're just kind of heating it up, burnishing in that oil, speeding its drying process by heating it up, because it's a slow drying oil, the walnut oil. Some people like to use shavings, not a fan of it. I sand right there, all that sand and grit goes down in that shavings. I ain't gonna ruin nothing that I just spent a lot of time trying to finish. Y'all can keep that stuff. Okay, so here she is. Will that let light in better? See? You can get a nice shiny finish without having to use lacquers and urethanes and all that stuff. That's shellac. Bug poop. Alright, I gotta go check the brisket. Okay, so the inside of the bowl and the outside of the bowl looks good. Now it's time to remove the tenon. So I put it in the cold jaws. I got a sheet of that drawer liner or neoprene, whatever you call it. I do that. It's not only will the rubber feet kind of mar the finish, but also the aluminum surface of the cold jaws themselves. Okay, so it's really easy to torque your piece up and out of these cold jaws. That's why I'm taking these little nibbling bites and I'm pushing in towards the headstock. I'm not doing a push stock kind of with a lateral movement. I'm trying to keep most of the force into the headstock and not letting it torque up and outwards. So here I moved over to my 1/2-inch bowl gouge. It's the only one I have, and it lets me get in a little bit tighter towards the nub and the tailstock. And I'm just kind of cleaning up the bottom, trying to get a good surface on there that'll sand easy. And I'm kind of recessing it up. We're making it concave, in case it does do a little bit of shifting or warping when it dries. Okay, without tailstock support, you really want to take smooth, easy cuts. You see I checked to make sure everything was tight again, because just the slightest little catch and you'll send your bowl flying across the shop, and all that work that you did on that finish is gone. So there's a little homemade negative rake scraper that I made, trying to get a cleaner finish on the bottom, so I have to do less sanding. Okay, I hate sanding, I hate watching sanding, I hate everything to do with sanding. I won't bore you guys with it. So we just went straight to sanding sealer, and we'll let that dry real quick. It takes less than 5 minutes for it to be dry to the touch. And then we go with the Yorkshire grit, and then we'll go with the Yorkshire polish, the microfine, and then we'll go back to the Doctor's Pens Plus microcrystalline wax friction polish, and that rounds out the bowl and does the finish. I'm really bad about finishing the bottom before signing it, so my signing looks kind of sloppy because it kind of melts the wax and burns it goofy. One of these days I'll remember to sign a bowl before I finish the bottom. Alright, as this bowl's winding down, this video's getting long in the tooth, and I can't thank you guys enough for all of y'all who have stuck around while I'm trying to figure this out. I kind of forced this project and probably shouldn't have even started this one yet, but I wanted to do something, and I was having fun with the chainsaws and recording that. And I'm not having such an easy time with the turning recording, so I need to work on that. I'll get more content out, and I'll keep trying to improve. I got a couple of tripods and mounting options that I want to get a better view. That way, you guys can see things better, and I can get in better. What I'm having to do right now is I record everything in the selfie mode and zoom in with the editing instead of actually doing a real zoom in, so it doesn't come out clear. But like I said, thanks for sticking around, and I really appreciate any subscribes, likes, comments. Please tell me how I can improve. I appreciate feedback. Y'all have a good one. Finally done. Finally. And I think this is the longest I've ever spent on a bowl. Well, there it is, y'all. Thanks for watching through this whole ordeal.